In today's fast-paced moving world, it's getting harder and harder to sit down, relax, unwind, and have deep and meaningful conversations. Welcome to Inaky's Coffee Club, the podcast that aims to engage a space for creative conversations that inspire thought. Today, I'm with all my friends here in Tulum, Mexico, and we've been having such a great time. And I just want to thank all of y'all for being here on the podcast today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Colton, you're in the chicken business.
Yeah.
You know, for some reason, I just wanted to get right into that. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
So it's funny, probably like the most popular guy on an airplane because everybody wants to know about chicken. They think it's like this weird concept. When I tell people that I'm a chicken salesman, a lot of people think immediately that I have a pickup truck, that I have chickens in the back of a truck, and I'm just selling them on the side of the highway. And as it turns out, that's not what we do. But so I have end customers who are food service customers, retail customers, and we sell chicken that's cut to specification nationwide. There's a lot of different avenues in the poultry business, but you can work for a processor who grows the birds, feeds the birds. You can work for somebody like I do, which is a middleman who processes into finished specifications for end customers. And then obviously you have a lot of people at the end of it who are my customers who sell the product to an end user. But we're kind of a middleman. So that's
nice.
What we do. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the more and more I get to know you, and really other of our friends are also in the chicken business, like it's just so interesting. There's so many moving pieces and so much that goes on with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's you can really think of all of the different applications that world touches, but animal agriculture is definitely a very broad and expansive definitely a broad and expansive field. So, yeah.
And then Fred, I know you can't get into all the details of what exactly you do, but just give us a quick overview.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to some of that. So I do precision agriculture more specifically than anything. So in that, it's the context of like utilizing new technologies to help farmers get more production out of what they currently have. Right. The idea is the world isn't getting any smaller. People are becoming more and more, and farmland's not increasing as much. So you got to be more productive, more efficient with what you got, right? So my job is basically creating new technologies that give farmers the insights to make those decisions and help them actually produce at scale. So in that's my focus is right now more than anything like R&D based. So kind of figuring out new ideas. What can you do? How can you help? So it's a lot of discussion with end user stakeholders of like, what's your problem? Like what issues do you see and how can we help you?
Yeah.
Right. So we have a lot of solutions like coming on board. Which is really fun right now because now we're getting into the business side of it, right? Like commercializing product. It's no longer just this concept of ideas of how you can help. It's now, hey, here's something that can make a difference, and we'll put it out to play, right? So that's the fun part that's starting to come about right now. So
that's amazing, very interesting.
Yeah.
And Jacob, we've had you on the podcast before, and you do financial advising and financial planning, but your firm's kind of specialized, right? Like you're totally different from any other like big company. So can you just kind of dive in a little bit?
Yeah, so we specialize in the private space, and so the biggest difference between like the private versus the, I guess, public financial advising or just your big wirehouse banks would be that we don't have this overarching huge company over us that essentially limits our capability to work within a client's finances. So, a typical company, you might go in there and you have a couple accounts that you want them to manage for you. We can do all of that just as they can, but we take it a step farther and we try to bring in everybody's, their entire household finances into our discussions. So whether that's, outside real estate holdings, primary residence, business that they might hold, anything that is just beyond the scope of just your normal stocks, bonds, and typical real estate investments, we're trying to bring in-house so that we can boost the offering of what our firm does. And so most of the time I would say that when clients come over, it's almost like a shock to them because the whole industry is so used to just like this very very reduced scale or service model in terms of what they actually get from an advisor, and we just come in and we essentially simplify it. We try to simplify everything, and then we try to touch everything that we can or that a client will let us, and it allows them to finally breathe and understand how all of it works together. And so our idea is, while we base our fees and our service on the accounts that we manage, we're trying to really that might only be 20-30% of someone's net worth. And so when you offer a fee that is very similar to what the rest of the advisory firms out there are doing, but you're touching 100% of someone's net worth versus just managing that 20%, your value is a lot more. So I would say that's really where we play. And we're dealing with typical client is going to be definitely part of that 1%, but other than just stocks and bonds, we're going out and we're handling syndicated real estate. We do some private placements that only QPs can be a part of. QP is a qualified purchaser, so most people really only know about a accredited investor out there, which is like someone who either has $1 million of liquid net worth, makes $200,000 or $300,000 if you're married. But there's another classification out there called a QP, which is a qualified purchaser, and that essentially takes it a step further to about $5 million of liquid net worth, and the range of investments at that point is limitless.
Right.
And so it's really cool working in those spaces and getting to learn from all these different guys on just not only on how to handle those things and how they incorporate into someone's finances, but also just getting exposure to it, because not everybody gets to.
Yeah, and I've met
see that.
several of your clients and had the chance to have conversations with them. And what I like about your firm is that not only do you focus on like those huge investments, but at the same time you also help them with the little things that may not be so little, such as like purchasing their car and like helping them on the how to get a good deal on that side of things.
Yeah, well, I mean, that side is just I love cars, and I came from the car industry, and so I enjoy doing that with them, because that still, as much as I love the industry I'm in today, it gives me some time to actually spend in that industry still and stay up to date on all the things. And it's something I know, and it's something I'm very confident in, and so I just like doing it. Yeah.
I think Inaky, sorry, you raised like a point which I've always had a question for Jacob in what you do. Inaky's in real estate. You have clients that work in that space or whatever. Do you also like try to like get your clients networked or build in that space also, not just control their finance, or like not control, but like help with their finance, but like introduce them to other people who can help build their finance, right? Like, do you focus on that as well?
Yeah, I mean, like what Inaky's talking about in terms of like meeting a lot of them. One of the things we started doing this last year was the client mixers and just socials, essentially. Yeah. And one for us, the idea is, hey, invite a client and have them bring guests with you, right? Yeah. So you can expand into their network. But at the end of the day, I was at a hunt 2 days ago, and one of the things that the gentleman said was, the most important part about bringing your clients together like this is not for them to see you; it's for them to intermingle with each other. And so when you're dealing with the top 1% already, and then all these people are from different industries across the board, right? We're able to bring them together, and then they start talking, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It might help them out.
Yeah.
But at the end
what
of the day,
is there a mindset, right? Like those people have their own mindset.
Yeah,
like so you when you put them together, you create more, right?
Yeah, and then like mine and Inaky's industries kind of correlate, and being that Mayan works with him. Yeah. It's a direct benefit for all of my friends, family, clients to get to know me, Mayan, Inaky. And at the end of the day, I want to put them in front of people that are, great business people and that I know are going to take care of them. And so, who better than especially if it's, my wife.
Yeah, I tell you what, every time you send that client over to us, first of all, every single client that we have, no matter where they came from, we take such good care of them. But whenever they come from your firm, Mayan, your wife that works with me, has like an extra level of attention to detail and an extra, like she wants to make sure that anybody that comes from you guys is very well taken care of. And she almost gets a little bit anxious about it. Yeah. And I always tell her, Mayan, we treat all our clients the same. They all get the same luxury level of service. But at the same time, I love that she's, always looking out for your clients, because, that's the right thing to do.
Well, there's something to be said about this. And, it almost like it irritates me so much, and I dealt with this a lot in the car industry, and I mean it's happened to me since I've been in financial advising. But when you give somebody a referral, right, and you've made their life that much easier by just handing it to them, right? Mm-hmm. Take care of that person, like go above and beyond. Like it's without saying, right?
Right.
Like I shouldn't have to, check on that person to make sure that you're actually doing your job right, and I sure as heck should not have to hear from them that, hey, you really are the best. Like it's not the same without you. Yeah, and it's just like, dude, I gave it to you. Yeah. Like at least do me a favor and make me not have to like worry about this.
Yeah, and I think that's a missed opportunity for lots of people, right? Because they get a referral and then they don't get to them right away. They don't serve their needs right away. And then to the person referring, like you don't no longer want to refer them business anymore. So if you just go the extra mile, you can make sure that take good care of them. You'll get more business out of that.
Yeah, and we've talked about this all the time. Like that's an unwritten rule with both of us.
Yeah.
And essentially, like if you were ever to send anyone over, and if I send anyone over, it's like, dude, I don't want to have to deal with this the second I hand it to you. Just take care of them.
Right.
And make me look good.
Yeah.
And I'll make you look good in return.
Yeah.
And Bo, you're the reason why we're all here right now. We're in Tulum, Mexico, and we had a lot of fun last night. We just got here. Y'all got in around 6-7 p.m. last night, and already it's only been half a day really that we've been here, and we've had a great time. You're getting married in about a month.
Yep, about 3 weeks from today actually we're getting married. So just a great group of friends here in Tulum.
Yeah,
You came appreciate all.
Are you excited, nervous? Yeah. What's going through your head right now?
Everyone says like a wedding's nervous, but I feel like it's not too bad.
Yeah,
I mean, Allie's a great girl, so I have nothing to be nervous about.
Well, good. Well, I'm very excited to participate in that.
Yeah, it's been a good time, especially here in Tulum with all y'all.
Yeah, exactly. Today we have a beach day planned, so we're going to have a good time on the beach today.
Looking forward to that one for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Colton yesterday was, singing in Spanish to the taco people.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little?
Sure.
Can you show us what you were doing yesterday?
Pan de vida.
And I mean, honestly, they were completely empty when we got to the taco stand.
I started singing.
He started
Clearly,
singing.
a crowd congregated.
That's exactly why
Yeah.
they came, because they were singing.
Yeah, you came to bless the taco stand.
Oh, that's what he meant by you were blessing the taco stand.
They did have earplugs in, but they did come. They wanted to know. They wanted to know. So. Yeah.
And those are some great street tacos.
They were. Yeah.
We ordered 25 of them for the group, and then we ended up having to order 10 more. And we could have kept going.
We could have had 100 more, I think. And
I
we
know.
probably would have figured it out. So.
Yeah,
It's definitely the best spot of the night.
Yeah, exactly.
It was cool, man. It was great.
Yeah. What is y'all's first? Again, we've only been here for about 12 hours, but what's y'all's first impression of Tulum? Because for most of y'all, it's the first time here.
Love it. I love the nature aspect of everywhere that you go. I feel like you're, one just little slip away from, popping out of another place in the jungle. It feels like it's amazing. It's honestly unlike anywhere else I've ever been in. I feel like there's a lot of places in like Central South America that are kind of similar, but it's got its own vibe to it. It's really just kind of a very unique, homey, beautiful nature vibe to it. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say the same. For me, that's like what I like about it, because I've been to the Yucatan a couple times, but never down to Tulum. But what I like is like as you're going by, it's seamless, right? Like it doesn't. I mean, obviously there's a lot of construction and whatnot, but as you move through, it seems like it's supposed to be there, right? Like everything is built in to fit. It's an environment. It's a space that exists as a whole. It's not just like some high rises or whatever that are just like plopped up.
Does it resemble
fits.
anywhere that you've been like on your travels for work and all that?
Honestly, no. This is So I travel so much, and my experiences have always been if it's a city, it's a city. If it's a population, it's clear. But here, it's completely different than that.
I think it's crazy how different it is from even just like from Cancun right up the road. Like the fact that you fly into a place that's just like ridden with just resort.
Yeah, Cancun has like a
cheesy
Vegas
vibe.
almost
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
it's just
yeah,
like
yeah.
all
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing I like about Tulum is that each development, there is a lot of development going on right now because people are finding out more and more about this place. But they have requirements on how much of the jungle you have to keep in each development. So they're very nature oriented, preservation oriented, and so it's a very holistic place here in Tulum.
Yeah. So from the real estate side, what does that do for you in the sense of like selling? Like, because I would assume that's like a good sales point, right?
Yeah.
Like people who are looking for that, but you toss that in there, like that's a driver, or do you like let them bring that conversation up? Like basically, like if people reach out to you for this area, like is that something that they're asking for, right?
Well, they just don't know to ask that question, you know. But I do bring it up because I like to mention, like, I want people to know, like, it's always going to be nature, it's always going to be jungly because they can only build 4 stories high, and they have to keep a certain percentage of the jungle in each development. So it's always going to look, very nice. And yeah, it's growing, it's booming. It's still a small town, right? You have Cancun, who's already blown up, right? Like, there's really no more land to build on. They're going up and really high. Then you go down south about an hour, and you have Playa del Carmen, which that's like a medium-sized town. And now we're in Tulum, which is a small town that's growing. And there's an analogy that Wayne Gretzky, the hockey player, says that he skates to where the puck is going, right?
Yeah.
And Tulum right now is where the puck is going. If you see where all the infrastructure is going, where all the investments are going, like, this is the place, and this is right now, and this is the time to really look into Tulum. If not only if you want to vacation, but also if you're looking for an outside investment outside of the U.S. to diversify your your income streams, because it's okay to have all your assets in one country, one currency, but some people like to diversify into different countries and different assets. As an example, right now, what's happening is that the value of the Mexican peso is increasing compared to the U.S. dollar. So whenever I purchased my condo over here, just a year ago, it was $200,000 in U.S. dollars. But now, because the peso is increasing in value compared to the dollar, just because of that, and also the appreciation in the market, my property has gone up almost 30% in just 1 year.
Yeah, just with the FX.
Yeah.
Nice.
What's the growth in Tulum in these past few years since COVID?
So we were talking about it in the podcast yesterday, and what's really made the growth happen is first of all, COVID. Mexico never shut its borders, so there was a lot of people that were traveling nomads that wanted to still live in a nice place. So they came and worked here because there's good Wi-Fi here, and so then Instagram as well. There were so many influencers that started just blasting this place.
Oh, dude, yeah.
And then whenever developers started seeing all the money that was coming here, then they started developing it more and more. And then really just also the Mexican government is doing a lot of big infrastructure projects, such as the international airport that is set to open in December of this year. I knew about that about 3 years ago, and I wanted to buy a condo before that opened because I knew that once there's an international airport here in Tulum, there's going to be even more people coming, because right now you have to fly into Cancun and then drive down 2 hours, which is what y'all did. Yeah. And it's still not a bad trip, but imagine if you can just fly straight from your place to
There's
Tulum.
definitely people who do not do the trip because of that.
Because of that,
Right, exactly.
Stay in that hotel area in Cancun or whatnot. So in that, I had a question on like the infrastructure that's going up here, because like we're in like a complex, right? Like there's a bunch of units or whatnot. Is that the general like construction that's going on here, or is it like are there individuals like buying getaway homes, or you know what I mean? Like so what is the layout of that?
That's a great question, and the market has changed over the years. 2 years ago, what the market was asking for was studios, 1-bedroom units, because everybody was traveling for a shorter term. Now that people are discovering Tulum and discovering they can work from here, they're wanting longer, or it's not really long stays, it's midterm stays. So people are booking for 3 to 6 months. Yeah. So really now the market's asking for more 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. And so, but yeah, you have all different kinds. You can buy a studio unit from around $99,000 up to a 4 or 5 bedroom villa for $1 million. So there's all kinds of
and there's demand across that scale. So people want studios, people want the 2 bedrooms. There's people for every aspect of it. Like basically, if you were a contractor who built out these things, you're not losing money on your studios because people wanted the 2 bedrooms now. There's still people who want studios.
I'll tell you this, there's really not a big resale market in Tulum. It's all done pre-construction. So what that means is that as the project is being built, it's already being sold out. And by the time that it's closed, it's gone.
Dude, the first time we came here, when we went to go look at all the different condos, we went to one that was right next door to his place, and the guy was giving us a tour, and it was like literally just walls at that point.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, out of all there was like 70 units. He was like, there's probably like 15 NDAs on like these really famous people that don't want anybody knowing who's
they're
buying
going
it.
in.
But
Yeah.
like at that time, it was just like, one, it was already full pretty much, and then just the kind of people that are wanting to have
Yeah.
something here.
And
is-
the interesting part about that specific development was that 60% of the real estate that you were buying was outdoor terraces.
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
so
Oh,
they,
wow.
they had more outdoor space than indoor space.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So that was pretty cool because, you know, that's why you come here. It's for the nature. It's
Right.
for
Yeah.
it's to be outside.
Yeah. On
Yeah.
that same note, you mentioned last night, sir, but there's like a giant park that's going in also. Right?
Yeah.
Like so nature is definitely the play here. Like
Right.
everybody wants that.
Exactly. So the park is actually one of the three big infrastructure projects that are happening right now. The first one was the International Airport in Tulum. The second one is the park, which is a natural preserve, which will be 3 times the size of Central Park in New York. And they're working on it right now. I'm not sure on when they're going to deliver it, but that's in the works. And then the third big infrastructure project right now is a high-speed train that's connecting all of the Yucatan Peninsula and really all of the southern region of Mexico. And right now they're building this section from Cancun to Tulum. And I believe that's set to be ready at the end of next year. And so that will be another way that people can get into Tulum.
I was telling him that, but is it started yet?
Yeah.
From Cancun to here, because
Yeah.
I didn't. Where is it on that same road?
It's behind the road, so you can't
okay.
see the actual
okay.
work.
That makes
yeah,
sense.
but it's
I thought it was
supposed to
gonna
be
be like
ready.
in the middle of the 2 highways.
That's what I
so-
thought at first because we
Yeah.
saw construction a few years ago there, but I
Right,
think they
yeah.
changed it to like
Okay.
being more deeper into the jungle.
I feel like people from like Central Texas should definitely be able to appreciate a place like this because Tulum, I've obviously only been here for like 24 hours at this point, or even less. But
Yeah.
the one thing that I can say that is really similar about people who live and have access, the people that live and have access to things in Central Texas, is you have everything here.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the ability to get to be a part of nature real quick, but you also have like a very vibey nightlife. And the nightlife is segregated into 2 different things. You can have a real hometown feel where you're going to a downtown spot to just be like real laid back, you know, very pop-up band type of situation, or you can go to the other extreme and have a very high-end experience.
Yeah.
And there's not a whole lot of places that offer that kind of diversity. It's usually one way or the other.
Right.
And when you add the nature aspect into it, you know, you think about people from Austin, people from New Braunfels, people from Central Texas who have access to nature pretty much all the time with a river or with a lake or with, you know, Barton Springs or something like that. You really have the diversity of the things that you can do and that you have access to.
Exactly.
A lot like here.
Yeah, I mean, you hit on a good point, which is the different sections of Tulum, right? And you have the downtown area, which that's like the more homey style of nightlife, and
Right.
and that's also the more affordable side of things. So you know, if you wanted to invest just a small amount of money, that's where you would go.
Yeah.
Then you have Aldea Sama, which is where we're currently at right now, and it's the only master planned development in all of Tulum.
Right.
So you know the roads were planned, all the utilities are underground. There's a commercial zone, there's a residential zone, there's a mixed use zone, and then you go even further closer to the beach. You go to the beach area, and that's where all the boutique hotels and high end
Yeah.
nightlife is
Yeah.
going to be at. So there you can have everything in Tulum. There's all different kinds of activities that you can do.
It's crazy to like kind of seemingly like poke around a jungle corner here and find like the massive expanse of like high end stuff that you see.
Right.
Like it's almost like stuff just pops out and like high end stuff pops out of nowhere.
But
here.
nature high-end.
But nature
Yeah.
high-end.
Right.
Yeah. And it looks and it's natural looking and it's beautiful and it's elegant.
I think there's something to be said about like, you know, our Western culture adopting this, because I mean everybody's at you know, call it what it is, but you know everybody's kind of like at grips with each other, and I mean who's to say that just us being so congested and not having any nature around us has nothing to do with that, right? And
Yeah.
then you come here and you know your most expensive place that you can find is still going to be very heavily or just dense in forestation or the jungle or anything like that, and so you know, it's just really cool to get here and you just like it. But
No,
I mean,
I
it
like
truly
that.
does.
Yeah, that's true.
Like going back to like the diversity or whatever, what I really like that I saw some last night was toes in the sand outside of the jungle. right? Like, I mean, where do you get that, right? Like again, like I do a lot, and we're walking out of a jungle to a beach, right? Like that's pretty
Oh,
sweet.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like whatever environment you want, right? Like if you are this, like, you know, California style, like on the coast and want the beach and the sun and the palm trees or whatever, it's not that far from the jungle here, right? Like so, and so you can jump in the other way and you can go into the dense stuff and like really get carried away in what exists there, right? Like we got the trip planned out for what we're gonna do and like the cenotes and stuff. So like it's just so diverse in not only like construction style but also just like what exists.
And
from
how did the
an
beach
environment.
look? Did you see the water?
Yeah. Oh
that's
man,
amazing.
gorgeous. Yeah, gorgeous.
Yeah, it's just beautiful, crystal clear blue water. You can, you know, be waist deep and look at your toes, which is insane.
And Inaky, you obviously grew up in Mexico City when you were a kid. Like when you guys took vacations and stuff like that as a family, as a child, or if you went somewhere with your family or y'all got away for, like, how does Tulum differ from whenever you were growing up? Not that you were maybe here, but like than the vacations that you took as a kid.
It's very different because, you know, Tulum has really just had its growth in the past couple years. So whenever I was little, like, I don't even think my family really knew about it because this used to be a really small, sleepy town.
Yeah.
And so we would actually go to Cancun, and we had a lot of fun in Cancun. And, you know, that was 20 years ago, and Cancun looked totally different 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was still beautiful. The beaches are beautiful in Cancun, but that was really where we would go to our vacations, and we always felt very high-end, very luxury, like it was really a vacation. Now I believe it's a little bit overpopulated. You know?
Vegas-y was like a good way to put it. It's
It's
very Vegas-y.
Yeah.
It's a trap.
Grandiose. It's just kind of it feels corny to
And-
me.
And Jacob, you mentioned yesterday how, you know, with the food, like it's like, you can go and have like a really nice high-end meal and you're gonna pay for it, but you're happy paying for it because of the quality of the food that you're getting.
No, yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, every time I'm here, and every meal I eat, I feel not only does it taste better, but at the end of the day, like you cannot get this kind of food anywhere in the States. And it doesn't matter like what you're paying for it. Like you can go to Austin, Texas and spend all this money on a really nice, you know, meal, but you're either going to get that steakhouse or you're going to get that new hip place that has a 3-month waiting list to it.
Yeah.
And while the food is good, like this is on a whole nother level in terms of freshness. Things that we just don't have. Like, I mean, every time I'm here, I get octopus. Like, I'm so excited to come here so I can get octopus.
I think that's
because I cannot
so
get it in the States.
That's the cool part, that because like on that going into the diversity thing of Tulum, like we sat on like little stools on a street in front of a taco stand and had quality tacos, right?
Like 35,
and then
35 tacos.
Just a few hours before that, we were sitting on the beach at like a really nice restaurant eating some octopus and like seafood and everything that, you know, from a price point was different, but the quality was just, I mean, the same, right? So
phenomenal.
like you could either pay, I mean, we got 35 tacos for,
It was $30.
$30 versus like the, you know, the seafood where we were like, you know, $500-600 and it was quality either way, right? Like it was good, and the experience was so different that it gave you another atmosphere, right? So you're getting good quality food but good quality atmosphere in change, right? Like I can eat on the beach or I can eat on the street in the city.
Exactly.
Oh, and by the way, both of those would have cost like almost double that in the States, what we had.
Well, you go to Austin, Texas, and you get 4 tacos, and it's $30.
The higher end meal that we had yesterday would have cost at least $300 or $400 more than what we spent last night.
Exactly.
I mean, the food. I mean, same thing for drinking here. Like you can drink on the beach for, you know, $15-20 a drink, or you can go in town and, you know, we were having like the best mojitos for $6-7.
Exactly.
Fresh sugar cane.
Yeah, exactly. Those mojitos were great because that place is called Bate, and they specialize in mojitos because they have actual sugar canes that they just kind of mill grind, and they get the sugar out of there. So those are always really
cool.
good.
Yeah.
And then, you know, some people that have never been here, they are always asking me about safety, right? Because that's a big concern for everybody. Like, is it safe? Like, that's what they ask me. And my biggest thing that I always tell them is, And it reminded me because we were outside at 3 a.m. last night eating tacos on the street. And I always tell people, there's literally like gorgeous girls walking around by themselves. Like that's the biggest indicator to me of how safe this place is.
Riding bikes at night by themselves.
Exactly.
Like,
so how do y'all feel about safety?
You know what my favorite part about that? Sorry to interrupt you on that, but my favorite part about that place is that they had stools that you could sit.
Yeah.
You would never find that anywhere in the States. Like if you want a street taco, you're going to get it and you're going to walk off. I love that you got to sit there and enjoy that as a group on the street. No formality to it. Just pull up a bucket pretty much is what it was. Yeah. And I just love the family seeming
It's almost like
nature
hibachi
of
style,
that.
just make it right in front of you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're like, we want more. We want more.
It's awesome.
Well, speaking to the safety, Uncle Safety over here would put his stamp of approval on Tulum.
That's so true.
Yeah, because I'm hyper vigilant on literally everything, and I've never felt, as if anything was. I never felt like I've been out of control here in terms of, whether or not you were with me, being with Malin, I never felt that I needed to be on extra guard with her or anything like that, and so. I think that speaks volumes, especially to what gets put in our ears.
Yeah.
Back in the States.
Dude, for
And
sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's as easy as any other vacation you go on. You book the flight, you get to Cancun, the rental car process is the exact same.
It was simple.
And
it was easy.
Get right on the highway and you're here. It's at no point is it any different than anything you experience in the States.
When you guys come visit me in Atlanta, it takes you as long to get to my house sometimes as it does from Cancun to here. So,
Exactly.
Well, I'm just speaking to even just the safety of the transportation part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's when people aren't in their comfort zone and they don't really understand what's going on around them, and they don't speak the native language. Like those are three things that stack on top of each other that make someone puts them more aware of their surroundings, and so you don't feel any of that here, and everybody speaks English, so
That's true.
That's
true.
I wonder what part of that is like lessons learned, right? Like Cancun's not very far in reality, right? Playa del Carmen's not very far, and those have been established like go-tos.
Yeah.
So Tulum is kind of in that same space of like they're developing now for for those people, right?
Yeah.
That population, they want that group to come in. So it seems to me they learned, right? Like they took what was happening in Cancun or Playa del Carmen and said, how can we improve? What can we do better?
Exactly.
Because like I have seen that side and seeing here, it's like there is a distinct difference. And for me, I'm curious. Like I wonder how much of that was like learning process.
Well, when you talk to the locals here and you ask them about tourists and visitors, they love us because their economy is run by tourism. So they want to make sure that we're happy, that we feel safe, that we keep coming back. And like, sure, whenever you're in the States, you hear this crazy headlines of like this happened in Mexico, this happened there. But it's like if you look at your own city in the States, just as many bad things are happening. So it's all propaganda.
There was a shooting. There's hundreds.
Yeah.
In Chicago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Another thing here is that it's not just Americans that come visit here. Like you also have a lot of Canadians, and then you really have a lot of Europeans. It's a very international destination, and it's really the world's playground. It's now being compared to Ibiza as far as like the music scene, because we have very high end international DJs that come here starting in January. So it's becoming a really popular population or a destination. And because it's so international, you get all these different types of cuisines as well, right?
Yeah,
because people are coming from Switzerland, they're coming from France, they're coming from Spain, and so it's kind of like a melting pot here.
I actually didn't know that Captain Underpants was from the UK, but we saw him last night.
We did see him last night.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it turns out he's actually British. Not British, Irish.
Yeah.
I wish I would have known not to look at that. But it was-
Expand on that.
So there was a gentleman who, at like 10 o'clock last night, not even really late into the night yet, pretty much as soon as we got there.
It's like a wedding party.
Yeah, something like that.
something like that.
Stood up on the table at a very small band bar that we were at, and took his drop trowel and unbuttoned his shirt as standing on top of this table. and just started dancing with his
Wearing
tiny
tiny
tights.
Which is the most hilarious part too. I'll be clear
That's
though,
when
they
you
were
know he's not
specific. They were not
American.
the classic Hanes ones.
No, they were
different.
like a very specific material. You know?
I thought they were like Fruit of Loom or something.
And somehow I'm still extremely jealous of his confidence.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And then you see all the waiters and they're laughing, taking pictures.
Oh, yeah, they love
like,
it.
that guy would have gotten kicked out somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah.
100%.
But to be fair, like he wasn't. It wasn't anything that was like
overly.
It wasn't.
Rude about
Yeah,
it.
it wasn't.
Having fun.
Yeah, it was truly fun. Like
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
was in the enjoyment of it. It wasn't like somebody who was like trying to flash
I
people.
wasn't
Like it
enjoying
wasn't.
it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I was telling them last night at the bar that, you know, when you get on the beach, I mean, the waiters are literally grabbing you to put you on top of the tables
Right.
and like handing you sparklers and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
like they want you to have the best time.
Yeah.
ever, too.
Yeah. So we're gonna do a dinner at Rosa Negra. Maybe we'll do that tonight. And it's one of my favorite places. I've had I think 2 or 3 birthdays there. It's
Yeah.
literally my favorite place to go. And to Jacob's point, it's like it's really vibey restaurant, but they have always live music and a DJ, and they have really good atmosphere. And you know, at certain times they're like, all right, everybody stand up, get on the table. And then they hand you sparklers, and you're like, "This place is all made out of wood. Like, we got burn this place?"
Literally like straw, like this would be like straw hanging
Yeah,
out in front of your
yeah.
table, and there's just like hundreds of sparklers going around. You're just like, oh my god.
Yeah, you're like, I would never see that anywhere else.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
what is y'all's favorite place in the States right now to visit? Like if you have 5 days to just go somewhere and be somewhere, what's y'all's favorite
I would
place in the
say
States?
like we keep going back to San Diego, and
That was
and
gonna be my spot too.
yeah, and I actually went on their anniversary trip last year.
Tagged along.
Inyaki's the
That's
adopted
when you
child.
were-
It's okay.
Yeah,
Were
eternal
you-
plus one.
I think you were still living with us at that point, right?
Yeah, I was living with you at that point. My house was being built, and you guys were going on your anniversary trip, and you're like, "Do you want to go?" And I was like, "Do you need to ask your wife?"
Hold on.
Stand by. Go ask her.
But yeah, that was so much fun. That was one of my most fun trips.
San Diego's, like, I would say the personality vibe is probably the closest thing that you're going to find to here that I've experienced in terms of just people being open to like all different types of enjoyment. Does that make sense? Like it's not just like Southern California beach surfer vibes. There's so much there. I mean, you're in San Diego, you're an hour away from the dunes. You're 2 hours away from being able to snowboard. You're on the beach, and you can just about hike any, you know, scenic mountain or just trail within 5 to 10 minutes. You know what I mean? And so, like, there's just so much to offer down there. Good food.
The weather's
so-
an amazing part of that too. I mean,
yeah.
it's like here. I mean, it's 90 degrees, but then at nighttime it'll get cold. So I mean,
Well, dude, like everybody talks. And California has its flaws, right? But
definitely.
I mean, every time I fly there and I'm walking through that little accordion thing off the plane, I am like, okay, I get why people like put up with this. Like it's worth it at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like especially when you're coming from 110-degree heat in South Texas, you're just like, oh my gosh, this is 75 right now.
Yeah,
Yes.
you feel like you can breathe better
Oh
over
my
there.
gosh, yeah. Malin didn't have her, you know, Malin has bad asthma. And, like, the whole time we lived over there, she was fine. The second we moved back, like,
Again,
you know, right back at it. And then we'll go over there, and she won't have to, like, hit her inhaler or anything like that. And the second she gets back on the plane, she's hitting it. And it's just like, it is the quality, just like your ability to live over there is just so much better. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So.
What about you, Fred? What do you think? If you had
So,
5 days somewhere in the
I
States
think
right now.
obviously San Diego has a special place in our hearts, right? Like that was a great experience as like a friend group and getting closer together. So San Diego definitely has a special place. But for me, I am definitely like more nature based, right? So that's why I'm really loving Tulum, and of that I think like Boise or like the Idaho area, not necessarily just Boise, but like that that state is gorgeous.
If
Like
I-
it has so much to
You and me are
offer.
on the same page.
Yeah,
I agree
the
completely.
lakes, the nature, the mountains, it's just
Yeah.
I've
For me, that
never
is awesome.
been to that state, but my cousin I think he keeps his like truck, boat, and some stuff up there to go fishing.
Yeah.
And he's been looking at houses for like 3 years, and he said that because of the show Yellowstone, everything's gone up like 3x.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
there's just not. He was like, it doesn't
It's the
make sense
landscape,
anymore.
man. Yeah,
and
yeah.
people like during COVID wanted to get out of the brick and mortar and move out there,
Yeah.
and it's just like totally
Boise's the new
expanded
Austin. Like Boise is becoming
Yeah.
the new Austin. They're actually growing at a pretty astronomical rate. Californians are kind of
Yeah.
taking over.
Migrating that way.
Yeah. Same as Salt Lake City. You know, kind of any of the major city, or not. Let's not say major, but any mid-sized market cities that are out west are kind of getting taken over
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But I agree, Fred. I think mine is definitely anywhere in that. I want to not just make it.
Montana, Idaho.
Yeah, exactly. Montana, Idaho.
That region.
It's
yeah.
just so beautiful.
Yeah.
And not that it has a whole lot of. You've kind of got to be okay with just being isolated and being desolate. you
Yeah,
know, but
Tyler's gonna hate us for like pointing this
yeah,
out.
for sure. Yeah. We've got
He
a-
wants to save that entire region for himself,
Yeah.
basically.
yeah. We've got a buddy who definitely loves that lifestyle and would be mad at us for sharing it with other people. Anyway, yeah, that's what I would say too. What about you, Bo? What do you think?
I mean, I've done like the southern part of the U.S. I've never gone to the other area. I mean, that's one thing I've always wanted to do, like the Montana area, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Just gone to cities. I mean, San Diego's fun. Of course, Nashville's fun. New Orleans is fun.
Yeah.
I just never done the outdoor scenes, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
That's one thing I want to do.
and you just went to New Orleans. You're having
did.
2 bachelor parties.
Yep, y'all are spoiling me.
Yeah.
Y'all are spoiling me.
Is New Orleans your favorite spot in the States?
It's fun. You can have your fun there, definitely, but it's interesting place. Put it that way.
For
See a lot
sure.
of things,
That's true.
the good and the bad.
It's funny. His dignity is actually still over there.
Harold.
Yeah.
We're still looking for that.
Yeah. Well, I think we're very similar in a way that we all travel, right? Like, and we travel often. And I don't know if that's normal or not for people that are, still in their 30s. And really, like, I've been doing this since I was in college, but every chance I get, like, I'd rather travel over getting, like, some material possession, right? Like, it's, to me, like, I prefer the experiences rather than just getting another car or another item. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can speak because like I travel a lot, and for me the biggest thing is the cultural experiences, like the food, the people, right? Like I've been to places in the context of like you don't eat with a fork and knife, you eat with your hands, right? There's places where it's like 5-star dining and like you have multiple forks and you don't know what to do, but like that culture, that understanding of like everybody is the same, but everybody's different. I mean that's very
can you
cliche.
speak to like the different countries that you're working in and like the different cultures, like
Yeah,
the extremes of the culture?
Yeah, so exactly. Like, I was just in Switzerland, which is like, I mean, banking capital of the world. It's you find all the great cuisine. I mean, that's where people go to play with with big money. So it's a different culture entirely, right? And then I do a lot of work in like remote places in Africa, where you're not sure like what you're eating kind of thing, right? Like a lot of the food there is like fermented food just for the sake of like lasting, right? You can save it, you can eat it, preserve it better. So yeah, you can for me in my travels, like I go through like multiple extremes of environments of food and culture, but at the end of the day, what I do love is as much as I don't necessarily like reach out to people a lot, but I am a very people person. Like I like people, right? And interacting with them and seeing like their day-to-day lives. It's not different in those two extremes, right? Like
Sure.
It's a different way in which they live, but at the end of the day, that you understand like what they're doing, why they're doing to get by, right? Like everybody's getting by, and you see that in every place you go, right? So it's an awesome experience to be able to like get that. The place that I would really love more is like I haven't done a lot of Asia, and that's a culture that is completely different than the Switzerlands or the Nigerias of of the world. So that's an area like India, Southeast Asia where I really want to like get into next.
Yeah.
Just because that's a culture that I haven't experienced, and I'm all about those cultural experiences.
Nice, yeah. I feel like it gives you better perspective, right, on your own personal life as well. Because I feel like in America, it's all about that hustle culture, like more,
Yeah.
more, more. And like in other countries, they don't really operate like that. And to some degrees, they're happier in some ways. So it's not just about like the pursuit of wealth and finances and your career, but it's also about like family and relationships and food and connections.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude,
I think culture is wealth also. Like I'm
Exactly.
a big believer in that.
I
Right?
always tell people the story about when we went to VNA's wedding in San Miguel.
Yeah.
Dude, we're like, again, another place that people probably would just like immediately hate on because it's Mexico, right? But you go there and everything is like 500-600 years old, first
Yeah.
off, right?
Yeah.
The roads, the buildings, everywhere you're going into. And then they had this town square essentially in front of that big church. And I forget what that church is called, but it was like 11 o'clock or midnight, and the entire square is just filled with the locals.
Yeah.
And some of them are like 80s or 90s, and they're just dancing in the street with like a little boombox right there.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, this is culture.
Yeah.
You know, like
You'd
no
never
one's
go
doing
back
this.
home.
And then we walked
Yeah.
by that park again on Sunday, and you saw a bunch of kids and families, and you're like, "What's going on?" And
Yeah.
I told you, it's Sunday, it's family
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
they
family day, yeah,
literally
exactly.
just all hang out.
Yeah, I have a 5-year-old daughter, Emma, and I think that talking about like cultural experiences and just experiences in general, we've really tried to push lately. Like, there's nothing a 5-year-old doesn't have. Like, there's not a thing that they want that they don't have. And oh, by the way, if you're connected and you have good friends and you have a lot of family, that's multiplied by a jillion every birthday, right? So we've really been trying to emphasize and try to impart on her that experiences are so much more important than things. And so we've really tried to, over the last 2 years for sure, start bringing her around to that idea too, and start doing things as a family so that she gets to understand that those things are more important.
And I'm so glad you're doing that, because some people would say, "Oh, she's just 5; she's not going to remember any of this."
Right.
But her soul will.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Like there will be an imprint on the emotions that you're, helping her achieve
Yeah.
through all those birthday parties and
Yeah.
like all those things that you're doing for her. That
Yeah.
it will help her throughout life, because she'll figure out that she had a good childhood.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We've been really good about like pretty much never holding back on where we take her to. Like, I was telling, I think, Fred yesterday, like, Emma's been on, like, but by the time that Emma was a year and a half, she had been on probably 20 flights.
Oh wow.
So like, just because, we've never seen a child as an opportunity to like back out of things or not go somewhere. Like, we've always taken the opportunity to take her with us. So the hope is that she feels really, well-rounded and cultured by the time that, she's, of the age to make those decisions her own.
Right.
So.
As a 5-year-old, does she ask to go places? Like, is there
all
somewhere
the
she
time.
wants to go?
She wants to go to Texas all the time. We live in Atlanta. She wants to go to Texas all the time to see her grandparents, Uncle Jacob and Aunt Malin. She wants to go to Florida because she knows that the beach exists there. She wants to go to Colorado, because we went out there one time and she had fun with this little girl that she was hanging out with for a little while.
Yeah.
She's got a traveler spirit to her for sure.
Yeah,
It's cool.
which is, I truly believe like that's great for a kid.
Yeah.
In the context of like my cultural experiences or whatever, I know that if I would have had that experience as a child, like it would have changed my perception of everyone entirely, right? Like
Yeah.
I can speak to people now and be open and whatnot because I know that they're different, right? Like culturally different, they were raised different, and it's. I know there was a point in my life when I was first starting to travel where I was realizing like, don't be afraid that you don't know why they do that or what they're doing. Like, ask them like what is that, right? But if you learn that as a child, then when you go into that space, you're the most open, and you know what I mean? Like you're willing and ready to have a conversation and get out there. Whereas like it took me a very, very long time to get that because I didn't have that as a child, right? Like I'll say I had cultural experience as a child, but it was family oriented, right? And not just random people, right? Or like making friends with another little girl or whatever like that in a completely different state. Like that to me is of high value, and that's why I say like culture is wealth, because if you want to talk about wealth financially, like if you have culture, you're going to have wealth financially. I
Yeah.
can tell you that because you are building a network that no one else is ever capable to match. Right?
Exactly.
That is huge. Right? If you're in a network of people who live next to you and you're only talking to them every day,
Right.
that's a problem for me. Right?
Yeah.
Like you're in a sounding box. You're not really getting anything out of it. But if you're able to go out and like start from a young age of building that, now you're asking questions to yourself of like what is their problem? What are they doing? Now you're solving other people's problems instead of just what's in your space.
Right.
Right. And that to me is like the high value product of culture. Right. Like I'm now capable of making more of an impact or an influence elsewhere.
Yeah.
And not just in my space.
Dude, I mean, you say that, and I mean, all the four of us are from Kingsville, and Yaki's the only one from Houston, right? And you know, Kingsville's not the worst place in the world, right? There's definitely less to be offered, right?
Yeah.
But just the comparison of like our childhood, and we all grew up similar, right? We all went through the exact same school process. I mean, me and you went to Ricardo for a little bit, Ricardo, and then to Kingsville, and you know, you just like we were telling him, like we would go to Sonic and hang out, and he's like, "What?
Yeah.
Like you go to Sonic?" Like
that was the highlight.
dude, the stuff he says, he's just like so blown away by like
Yeah.
the differences between our two childhoods, and
Yeah.
and then on top of that, like, you know, Maddie, our sister, got a message the other day from one of my friends that was just like, you know, basically just alluding to the point that like, hey, like you and your brother are doing great, like, and the best thing about all of this is the fact that, you know, like you were right there with the rest of us that stayed back, you know, and like y'all made it out, and to whatever that means, right? But at the end of the day, it's just like, you get stuck in that mindset, and you get stuck with like, just like what you said, like you're in a sound box, and the people will not leave if you do not almost like force them to, right?
Yeah.
And so I have a lot of friends that they just have so much potential, and they have the ability to move, and I'm just like, you need, like it's just one of those things where you want the best for them, right? And so you want them to you know, see the world and see what else there is to offer. I'm not saying that my idea is the only idea in the room. I'm just saying that like it's definitely better than what's to offer down there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think to some degree it's comfort, right? Like
Yeah,
we're creatures of
100%.
comfort, and like we're trying to do the bare minimum to survive, you know, as far as, you know, our internal processes go. And so like an example of that for me is I was a server at the gristmill in Green, and that was 8 years ago. And I go back today, and there's still people that are there that could have gotten out of there and done something else, taking their life a different direction, but they actually laughed at me when I told them I was leaving to go to Houston to sell real estate. They're like, "Why would you do that?"
Is the reason that you have such amazing calves because you worked at the gristmill?
Yes, running up and down the stairs.
Is it
you know,
it's still the top three largest?
second largest restaurant in Texas.
Yeah.
Those are
And,
really nice.
oh yeah, and they have over 300 servers on staff. No AC.
No AC.
Texas heat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you have to have a couple shirts to take to your shift. Especially if you work a double.
And
It's
Yaki
mad
doesn't
out
have
there, too.
and Yaki doesn't have calves. He has
Yeah.
cows.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the only reason why I have them, because, to be honest, I don't work out legs in the gym.
Well, you had plenty of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Enough for your whole life.
But yeah, just speaking of like, you know, being a child and culture, like we're doing something kind of interesting tomorrow night, which will give us an opportunity to be childlike again, which is a rebirth ceremony. And it's going to be a temazcal, which is basically, it's kind of like a small sweat lodge, right? Where you go in and you do this whole ritual and ceremony, and they have volcanic rocks that have been sitting in fire the entire day. And they're bringing them one at a time, and they're throwing water on them. And so it's pitch black in there, and starts getting hotter and hotter by the minute. And you're in there for a whole hour, and you're essentially meditating. And I've done it once before, and it was a great experience. I'm curious to know like what you guys are thinking about going into this experience, because none of y'all have ever done this.
Yeah, no, I have not for sure. But I can say the only thing that I'm thinking of right now is like being in a sauna,
Yeah.
and I can only take so much of a sauna. So,
After 15 minutes, I'm like, God, get me out of here.
Worked up.
Yeah, so me and Jacob have done it before together, and they tell you.
Well, you've done it twice.
I've done it twice. You've done it once.
One time.
But whenever me and you did it together, they tell you, hey, if you get scared or you want to get out, just yell "puerta," which means door, and they will open the door and you can get out, but you're not allowed to come back in. Jacob, you tell the story of whenever we did it.
So yeah, they're kind of just giving you this brief and just to kind of set the stage, like this hut that you're going into, this like almost like adobe hut that you're going into is 3.5, 4 feet tall, and the door's even smaller. So like you're crawling through this thing and you like see it and you're like, oh wow, like we're low, right? And so you sit down and you start to see them shoveling in these rocks, and the rocks are almost glowing red. They're so hot, right? And I mean, they're massive. They're like this big. They're on this like big snow shovel, and like at least the one that we did. And they go to close the door. They give you that little brief, and they go to close the door, and they say, "Hey, if you're going to be scared, yell puerta." And there's probably like 15 to 20 of us in this little hut, and pitch black. And I mean, you can't see nothing.
Yeah.
And they shut the door. And no more than like 2 seconds later, the guy starts his like little ritual chant and like screams at the top of his lungs. And this like lady sitting next to me was like, "Puerta, puerta." Just like freaking out and got out of there like immediately. Yeah. But I mean, you're fine. And like, yes, is it hot? But it's not like 185 hot, sauna hot. You know what I mean? It's probably like 140, 150. You can definitely last 45 minutes to an hour in there.
Yeah.
Does it suck? Yes. Like at the end of the day, like you are sweating profusely, and
The little cleansing you get from that, I bet is amazing.
yeah.
though,
Oh,
at the
yeah.
end of
You
it.
walk out of it and you are like a new person. It feels so good.
Rebirth.
Rebirth.
Yes.
Rebirth.
I remember my first one, so
Yeah.
that must be good.
I'm just excited that I get to get really hot and sweaty with 5 hairy dudes. Yeah, 5 hairy
That's what I came
dudes.
here for.
It's
Yeah.
like really what we're after.
Yeah.
So.
Bo's bachelor party.
But yeah, that's the other side of Tulum, right? Like you can come down here and have a lot of fun and party a lot if you wanted to. But then you can also have the holistic spiritual side of things. You can do yogas, you can do meditations, you can do Mayan rituals. So it's such an interesting
Let's kind of
place.
talk about I mean, you've been 15 times now. I think this is
Yeah.
my 6th. So let's talk about the different things we've done. So we've done like being on the beach. We did that boat trip where we went and looked at the Mayan temples, had the tour on that. We snorkeled.
Yeah.
We took a catamaran out.
Yeah.
Snorkeled out there too.
Went to the cenotes.
Cenotes, yes. And, going back to the Temescal, you can do different types to where like they offer a whole different service. But like the one that me and you did together, you do the Temescal and then you jump into the cenote and then you have the meal made for you by the Mayan ladies, right?
Which, by the way, you love hot sauce, and you're like, "Oh yeah, just bring me that hot sauce," and, and you could not handle it.
They love habanero here. They love habanero, yeah. So we've done that. I mean, what are some other things? Definitely in the city, in city life, eating or just hanging out, going to the bars. You got the beach. What are some other like excursions that we've done here?
Well, I mean, there's just so much to do, and like, there's over 2,000 cenotes here. And for those of you that don't know what a cenote is, it's an underground cave system where it's like an aquifer where water just goes through, and the cenote is where one part of that aquifer just kind of collapsed on itself, so it opens up. But it's in the middle of the jungle, so it looks like you're in an oasis. You're surrounded by palm trees, and you have crystal clear, really fresh water, and so it's
How far are they from here? Like,
they're all around us.
I would love to go to some
Dude,
tomorrow.
we were on the beach our first trip, and it was probably like 2:00 in the morning. We're thinking about going home, and we walked by this bar that is just like slam packed. We're like, oh, let's go in there. And we go in, we watch this DJ for like maybe 45 minutes, but as you're walking through this like club, there's cenotes like that you're walking through that people can be hanging out in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you get to the actual bar and people are just like dancing all over the place and there's a full, set going on. But yeah, I mean, there's literally cenotes at the bars sometimes. So it's pretty
So
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we should do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
I've never been to one.
Yeah,
I'd love to.
they're all around, and we can hit up, like, we can just have like a couple hours where we go to like a couple of them.
cool.
Yeah.
It'd be cool.
Yeah, and they're really cold too. They're
That's right, that's
about like 60 degrees.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So it feels super refreshing when you get in. And some of them will have jumps that you can just like jump off of.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then some people actually dive in them because you can dive through the caves and like it's like pitch black and you have flashlights underwater and you dive through the cave system.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You know, they actually have some of these in like Central Texas,
Yeah.
in like Wimberley and stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
It's like,
Like
Jacob's
the Narrows
Well,
and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah,
or
Jacob's Well.
Yeah, Jacob's Well.
a
Oh,
Blue
I don't
Hole or
recall
something
having a
like
well.
that. Yeah.
It's called Jacob's Well.
Jacob's Well.
Yeah, we should go there. But yeah, they're in Central Texas as well, just not as prevalent as they are here. Yeah.
Yeah.
It might be the same system. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. Well, we're here at the top of the hour, and I just want to thank you all for being here on the podcast. You know, we're having so much fun in Tulum, and thank you all for taking an hour out of the day to just kind of sit down, unwind, relax, and do an hour of Inaky's Coffee Club. So
Yeah.
thanks for being here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for
for having
fostering
us.
it, man.
Yeah,
Thanks
that's
for
awesome.
letting us document this.
Awesome. Yeah.
So, absolutely.